So we're going to start. So, hey guys.
Recording in progress.
So, hey guys, welcome to Blocklike TIDES Panel. I'm Abby from Capability. Capability was founded in 2018, and the founding team member of us were the early supporter of Ethereum technology. We are a crucial investment institution and builder of digital industry infrastructure. Furthermore, we also aim to actively promote the development of the DeFi industry. And today's panel session is co-organized by Ontology and Blocklike. Blocklike is Cannabis's media brand. They will regularly invite the developers and builders of blockchain to share their unique ideas and consider insight. We hope each of you could be a contributor to Web3 world. In today's discussion, we will talk about the challenges we meet of implementing Web3. As we move into the next iteration of the internet, decentralized identity solutions and privacy preserving technology are becoming increasingly important. So we included 3 keywords today for discussion, that is identity, uniformity, and compatibility. So we set up several questions around the keywords, and now let's start from introduction. So what welcome our guests today. We have 3 respective guests from Ontology and 2 guests from Ontology ecosystem projects, Unifi and ROCKI. So let's make a brief introduction. Let's start from Juliun, the founder of Ontology. Even though we know you and Ontology well, so could you kindly give us an introduction and how are you doing recently?
Okay. Hi guys, pleasure to be here. I'm Juliun, founder of Ontology. Ontology is the infrastructure for Web3, include the public blockchain as a public ledger, decentralized identity, decentralized data, and reputation, etc. Those protocols also include other kind of product as infrastructure, like the wallet. The wallet is manage all kinds of owning digital assets, also include all kinds of data or information for Web3. So we think from our point of view, all those kind of products, protocol, public chain will become the infrastructure of Web3 to build the apps for Web3 best. That is Ontology.
Let's welcome Humpty. Am I right? Humpty, the head of the community at Ontology.
Everyone, Humpty Calderon here. Thank you so much for the invitation. Like Juliun, very happy to be here. So for my been building in the space since about 2018, community-powered projects, joined Ontology in about 2020. And since then have been helping to build out the ecosystem alongside the community of users and builders, particularly with the decentralized identity and data solutions that are being built on Ontology.
Yeah, thank you for introduction. And next, let's welcome Gloria. She is the chief of ecosystem partnership of Ontology.
Hello, very happy to be here. So I'm Gloria. I'm responsible for ecosystem development for Ontology. So we are looking for different use case scenarios to utilize our unique technology with decentralized identity and data exchange for Ontology. So both in the world that is switching to real world adoption, but also crypto native and Web3 native user scenarios.
Yeah, thank you, Gloria. Next, let's welcome Juliun. He is the CEO and co-founder of Unifi Protocol.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. My name is Juliun Brabon. I am co-founder and CEO of Unifi Protocol DAO. We're a Web3 blockchain builder and kind of advocate that's been working in the space since 2018. Currently, we operate a bit over 400 smart contracts on 11 different blockchains. That includes Ontology. And our DAO is continuously expanding based around our token, which is the Unifi token. You can find us on Binance as well. And our focus is basically sustainability, building or making sustainable solutions to Web3 problems, and that includes DeFi, bridging, things like that. So super excited to be here and talk to the Ontology team. Been great partners, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you. Last but not least, let's welcome the CEO and co-founder ROCKI, Bjorn. Am I right?
Yeah, Bjorn. Yeah, thank you so much. It's a great privilege to be here. Thank you so much. My name is Bjorn Niclas. I am the co-founder and CEO of ROCKI. ROCKI is a music streaming platform and music NFT marketplace built to empower musicians. I come from a very long background in the music industry, going back almost 20 years. And for me, empowering musicians with new opportunities and revenue stream is a big passion of mine. So we are extremely happy and thankful to be a partner of Ontology, and happy to talk about how we use Ontology solutions for KYC and digital identity solutions to make sure that the musicians on our platforms are actually the ones who they say they are. There's no imposters that are trying to, sell, copyrighted material that do not belong to them. So really excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Alex, for the introduction, and welcome to Blocklike TIDES Panel. And today we have maybe 4 questions. So we have 1.5 hours to talk about these questions. So please be free to talk and discuss and share your opinions. So now let's begin with our question. Number 1, when virtual machine, which could allow EVM-based blockchain developers to migrate easily across ecosystems and seamlessly construct applications on Ontology. And the latest version will help thousands of developers building rapidly from to the Ontology blockchain with decentralized identity and data protocols. So here comes now questions maybe for Ontology. So from Ontology's point of view, what brings to the projects when they enter EVM-based ecosystem?
Okay, I guess my first is, I think EVM ecosystem, because Ethereum is one of major platform right now today, and a lot of apps and a lot of application is based on the EVM and the Solidity programming language. And I think all the public blockchain, almost all kinds of infrastructure based on EVM can help developers. They can do all the things, build the product one time, and can use in everywhere, deployed to everywhere. So that is quite important, because I guess in the next phase, in the first stage, the public blockchain is important infrastructure and important scenario, product in the stage 1. But blockchain stage 2, I think the dApps and decentralized application scenarios, all kinds of scenario will become the major application. Important than what kind of infrastructure they choose. So I think most successful dApps, they were built in different blockchain in the same time. Because maybe they need a different kind of assets, different kind of data, different kind of protocols or infrastructure tools. So, but for those, just like today's internet, you will build your application on time and to deploy even as a SaaS or to private service to all kinds of platform. Just like today's cloud service, you maybe use Amazon or Microsoft, Alibaba, different kind of cloud service, but application is built one time. So they easily to move the different service from this platform to another platform. Even they can use a different platform in same times, private for their service to the end users. So today, the EVM is an important smart contract platform. Maybe in future, still other kind of like the WASM or the other kind of program language. But I think EVM based is important for all the developer teams. They can build the things in one time. And I think in next phase, all the developers, they will not choose what kind of platform will not be important things. I think they can build, they just focus on build their scenario application and business process, and use program language like Solidity. And they can develop to deploy their application everywhere. So I guess EVM or the other kind of like WASM, VM will become almost every platform have two in next phase. Yeah.
I agree with you. As you said, application one time that application build one time, then they can deploy many cross chains. So I agree with that. And what about other guests that from Ontology that you could share your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that, we've seen the adoption of EVM almost as a bridge to be able to work and collaborate across many different blockchains. There is certainly advantages, I think, to building on blockchains like Ethereum, but certainly I think that there's limitations to it as well. And there's a lot of creativity happening across other blockchains like Ontology. As an example, one of the things about Ontology's consensus mechanism is unique, and it allows for much quicker than on many other blockchains. A lot of that is innovations like in its that consensus algorithm. And that's just really scratching the surface as to kind of some of the advantages that could potentially play a part in the future of blockchain development. There's also the ability to build on a blockchain like Ontology, where there is new and emergent technologies like the decentralized identity technology that's been built there, and allowing for that seamless transition for a developer to be able to build on a blockchain like Ethereum and being able to port that over onto a blockchain like Ontology and vice versa. So, yeah, I think part of that is, the growth and the but also in the vision
what brings to Unifi
Recording in progress.
Ontology?
Yeah, for example, right now, from the ontology perspective, I think there is a huge advantage when it comes down to kind of how their whole token economy works. They've already put out there a lot of examples of this quicker finality. They have their own bridge economy and things like that do work. These are great resources. From our perspective, ontology, it's, the deployment was extremely fast. It was instant. I think that when we first started talking to the team, the ontology team, we do have our own bridge as well. And we were hoping to get that by the end of this quarter. But it was ready to go pretty much right out the gate. And so we were like, okay, this is just done now. So we can start to go, okay, let's port some token economy there. And, I'm looking at it now, and the arbitrage opportunities that are there, they popped up instantly. Things look good for us. And then you tie that in with the transaction costs being what they are. It's very cool. And I think there's a lot that we can do now. Like, how can we expand this and people to build on it? So pretty exciting. I think a lot of tokens are going to be deployed there. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's interesting that actually you bring up the cost efficiency. Development is expensive, right? So to think that there's an opportunity to reduce some of that cost and improve that through both the technological efficiencies, but also the economic efficiency, I think that is certainly something that is attractive to developers. I would also say something to the point that you made just now, which is in terms of arbitrage, are community members that are not just on one platform, but they're multi-platform users themselves. So to be able to serve this community of people that are not just building, but using blockchains and trying to seek the benefits of each of them, but also to provide them with the type of interesting tools like what Unifi is building on Ontology and across multiple blockchains, I think that really kind of opens up a kind of like a flourishing of blockchain, if you will, where it isn't necessarily based on one chain, but it really is something that is a bit more dynamic.
Totally. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. And I want to ask ROCKI, Bjorn, so what brings ROCKI when integrated with Ontology?
Sorry, I was on mute. That's a great question. So yeah, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, thanks. That was a great question. So, music, ROCKI being one of the leading music NFT platforms with thousands of musicians, thousands of songs that are being minted as music NFTs, which is essentially making a song collectible through an NFT. As we have seen on some other NFT platforms, there has been a lot of imposters who are either, screen grabbing crypto art from one famous platform and marketplace and putting it up on sale on another, pretending that I'm the famous content creator. And that's, of course, terrible. And when it comes to music, it's also been a big problem with, if you guys remember back in the day, we had something that was called, what was it called? Napster. And Napster was basically a file sharing system where users would share MP3 files with music that they didn't have the rights to do, which of course dragged down the earning potentials of those musicians. So for us, building ROCKI, it was always very important for us to make sure that, number one, people are not uploading music that they do not own the rights to. That has been a big problem in the music industry. Because there's, IP and ownership and copyright assigned to the original musicians. And of course, when it comes to minting an NFT, before we made I think we've had our partnership with Ontology since early last summer. And, I will echo Julian there. It was extremely easy to deploy with you guys and get up and running. I'm not a developer myself, but I know our CTO and team had a really great feedback on deploying and connecting with you guys. But before we had the partnership, essentially pretty much anyone could issue a music NFT. On the music
Recording
side,
in progress.
We have a partner with another company where we actually scan the actual music file in a similar way, where we can match that to the biggest music database of recorded music to pick out if there's any element in the song that has already been released by someone else, because that's and the plan actually someone to Beyonce. Ownership verification.
Recording in progress.
And only deal with musicians that are verified. Only deal with music that is fully owned by the musician. So as we made our partnership, early last summer, it's been really, really great for us, where we can actually show these artists are verified, which gives a much higher confidence of the users buying the actual IP of that NFT.
I'm just going to ask, you bring up something interesting, actually, that decentralized identity that kind of makes me want to ask a question to the Ontology team. And that's, if we have a blockchain where the emphasis is on finality, quick finality, right? And the focus is also on decentralized identity. For me, that spells a lot of potential for like zero knowledge proof type transactions, because those require many transactions. And I guess in two things: one, if you have finality, you can do transactions faster. And if you tie that, I wanted to put that out there for the Ontology team. Is that something that you guys are looking into? Because it feels that I feel like that'd be very cool to look at.
Good question. That trust from some single points: your background, your education background, your nationality, etc. So the decentralized identity is private decentralized mechanism. They will, as a decentralized process, to integrate the technology trust, some centralized trust from some organization or governments, or they use a decentralized process to organize or integrate all kinds of trust. to build the trust package. But the important thing is the trust package is a holder by yourself. Of course, every time you can choose, okay, at this time, I prove this information based on technical trust. The technical trust may be from zero knowledge proof, maybe from other kind of decentralized process to prove how or zero ontology have. Or some information, my age or my background, etc. So all those kind of technology can be integrated. Zero knowledge proof already have those kind of technical we have already. But to be honest, the scenario is not quite a lot of scenario right now, because today people still do kind of transparent transaction, right? The digital assets are decentralized. But in next phase, I mean, currently all scenario, all depths is just focused
Recording in progress.
We are not only depend on decentralized trust. We want to integrate it, all kind of trust in decentralized world, decentralized mechanism. That is different decentralized identity with a centralized identity.
Right now, the world is very excited about like zero knowledge. I think a lot of project teams are doing a lot of things around it. And one of the aspects that they've been focusing on is the disclosure of information in a way that is zero knowledge. But it's actually something that can, it's also like an intrinsic capability in verifiable credentials. And that's something Ontology has been building on for a very long time. And we recently developed and released the SDKs for any team, any application team, to basically use the Ontology blockchain to to be a very
Recording in progress.
applications using the ID. So that's something I think should be also emphasized for the broader community to understand how to best utilize Ontology.
Mhm.
Cool.
Please go ahead, Julian. Do you want to share your opinion?
No. I think that's fantastic, because that's exactly what the industry needs, right? These are big problems that can't be solved on one chain, and that's kind of that's kind of the nature of it. So being able to leverage one chain, some specific attribute that's unique to that blockchain is fantastic, and combining that with EVM
that the regulatory environment requires a lot of as Bjorn was touching upon, like that verification of the identities of the users, right? And it's actually something Ontology supported like already years ago to basically support like real world identifiers. But on the other hand, actually, we also integrated a lot of other Web2 social media such as LinkedIn, Twitter, GitHub, identity verification providers such as BrightID, Gitcoin, and some other partners. So you can actually try to verify yourself completely without any government officials. And if you wish to, if the regulation requires you to, you can also do that with these traditional finance KYC providers. And I'm actually personally very interested if we can actually build out a model where a set of verification attributes can have the same result as the real world KYC without actually using a real world KYC identification document. That would be maybe really interesting for the industry to see, like, how can we actually verify people, but also in a privacy preserving way. So that's something really interesting.
Almost like we to try to solve a problem in, like you said, in ways that are privacy preserving before someone comes knocking on the door saying, this is how you're going to do it, which is very much unlike the way that many people like to operate in the Web3 system. And I think that that's okay. But to be able to do it in a way that is verifiable, where your identity has been verified in one of many, many different ways. This again goes back and attractive to developers and each just symbol of our ecosystem, whether unity of builders that want to build on ontology.
Recording in progress.
So the ability to actually also verify them on that level for us was very, very important, because we knew there is nobody out there that spent years and years of developing their social profile as an artist if it's not them. Like, nobody would take the time to create a fake Bjorn Niclas for years and years and years, only for the thought of, oh, maybe 5 years from now, I can try to imitate Bjorn. He might be famous. And I already spent 5 years building a Twitter profile and added followers and created engagement. There's no way. So for us, that's almost like unbeatable. Like, nobody has that. So for us, that was actually a really big reason why we choose to go with Ontology versus some of the competing services. And a lot of our users actually kind of really liked that it was as easy as, oh, my Twitter? Oh, yeah, sure. Because they knew they're not really giving up all that much private information. But still, for us, it's enough to really know that is Humpty, the artist. We can go back and look. It's impossible that he faked his verified Twitter account. That's an example. So I just wanted to chime that in. It's been really, really cool for us, this feature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For this question, we talk about EVM compatible and also identity and some other very interesting topics. I think we can move to next one. So at present, the blockchain has not reached the stage of application explosion yet. But in the future, the application on-chain of Ethereum is bound to drive the booming of overall blockchain industry. However, Ethereum isn't perfect in user experience, especially with too much traffic and efficient processing. So the question first ask Ontology. So besides EVM integration and interoperability, what else should be done to allow Web3 users enjoy richer on-chain ecosystem services?
Okay. Let me first. I think it's not a problem of Ethereum. People always talk about the user experience or cost for Ethereum. I think it's kind of misunderstanding because people only think, okay, we want to build all kinds of developer dApps or scenarios in one platform. That's just people think, okay, we need a one platform. They can support all kinds of scenario. But you can check let me take the example of the internet again. That is not all internet scenario built in one infrastructure. It's almost not possible, as not suitable. That's because different platform, they need support different platform, different scenario, different dApps. Because all blockchain, public blockchain especially, is kind of public ledger. The ledger means manager the information in decentralized world. The information, we have a lot of kinds of information. Why Ethereum is the largest platform right now? Because to be honest, currently whole industry almost owning one kind of information. That is digital assets. I mean, digital assets also kind of information, right? Because all the other digital assets like NFT, DeFi, or swap, all kinds of digital assets, we almost have no other kind of information right now. I mean, of course, we have identity, we have another data, reputation, but it's still all those kind of information is still in its early stage. So when more kinds of information were coming, just like today's internet, you have all kinds of information or the data on internet, not only assets, include identity, include data, all kinds of social behavior or internet behavior, even your background, work experience, etc. All those scenarios move to the decentralized world. We need a different public ledger to manage a different kind of information. Because all those kind of infrastructure or public blockchain, they will have specific mechanism or performance or ecosystem to suitable for manage different kinds of information. Some blockchain maybe is suitable for the identity management. Some blockchain is suitable for some social behavior, like the music information, NFT information, or all the kind of things. So in the future, I think all the dApps, I mean the developer team, dApps, they were built on different public blockchain. Not only just like today, I build an application based on EVM and copy to another, for example, to Ontology, or Polygon, or other kind of layer 2. That means in the future, maybe I still one kind of application, but I will use all kinds of public blockchains in same time. And not only just a copy, I mean, this is my version, Ethereum version, or some Ontology version. That's because in one version, I will use different public blockchain to manage or support different business process or steps. For example, if I want to do the identity verification or background verification, I will use Ontology as a public ledger to verify, to integrate, to do the interaction with Ontology. In step 2, once I need to do some digital assets transaction, I will integrate it. I will integrate it with Ethereum, do the interaction with Ethereum. In step 3, maybe we have a lot of social network information and all those information and data. I will integrate it with, for example, Filecoin or other kind of decentralized storage mechanism. So in the future, I think the dApps, the they will pass different public. Yeah. I think a lot of background noise. Okay. Yeah, just as my point is in depth, in next stage, they will use different public blockchain in same process, not only copy different vision to different blockchain. So in time you will find, okay, we needed to let Ethereum to do everything, to support everything. I think this is not good, right direction. We need different kind of public blockchain as infrastructure to support different scenario, different information. Layer 2 is kind of solution, like the vertical blockchain like Ontology is focused on Web3 or identity, also kind of solution. So in the next phase, we can see some depth. They will build their vision in the different blockchain in same times. Not only copy Ethereum vision to another vision, not only copy. It's my dApps, the whole business process or user process, the step 1, step 3, they were based on different public blockchain. So that will be I guess, is future is infrastructure, is multiple blockchain, public blockchain infrastructure in next stage.
You know, I can benefit. Is kind of leverage these different attributes of these chains to kind of be a network that people can use within a single app, potentially multiple different networks. And there's examples. There's real world examples of this. Cell phone calls, and the internet, those are two separate networks, and they don't necessarily communicate directly with each other, depending on what you're talking about. But there are several examples of this. That doesn't mean a business that doesn't have both the phone number and a website to give out information. It's the exact same thing. And I think that, what you're talking about here is you leverage the efficiency of that network. A phone call is a great way to tune in and get information to, back and forth, very quickly. A website is a great way to get information from very quickly. And I think that networks are going to find very creative and interesting solutions that they can each bring to that future of how does a future business build on not just two networks, 20, 30, whatever, and use all these different solutions. So I couldn't agree more. I think you're exactly right with this.
Yeah. I think it's a good example, like the mobile phone, right? If you take a mobile phone, all over the different world, different countries, you already change the networks every time, right? This city to another city, this country to another city. The infrastructure network, mobile phone network already be changed, but you have not realized that. You just use the same service as in the scenarios. I think the decentralized world in next phase is same scenario. The end user will not consider, okay, currently I'm using Ethereum or using Ontology. I just using one kind of service. Maybe it's an exchange, maybe it's a social network. I don't care about what kind of network is changed right now. Just you can make sure, the developers or dApps owner, they make sure, okay, all the decentralized, all the security have been confirmed, you can use. As the infrastructure level, I will handle also.
That's why. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please,
go ahead, Humpty. I don't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say, like we have our token, right? And we deployed it on Ethereum. Great. You can send it to Binance. They accept that token. We have a native token now on Ontology, because all we have to basically do is network A hand off to network B. Now it maintains not a wrapped version, but authentic version of that token supply. And I think that's really an interesting conversation. And you tie that in with what's going on with,
They don't care.
Recording in progress.
That there are good applications that they can use. And so I've been jumping into these Twitter spaces, and the one thing that I'm hearing more and more is we are obsessed with the protocols, with HTML, TCP/IP. No one cares. Like even CDMA and all these different cell phone networks, to touch on another one, no one cares what network they're on. No one cares what protocol it is. What they care is what kind of applications are built on top of that. Right. What kind of experiences can they take part in those ecosystems? A phone, for example, is a user experience, is an application, if you will, on top of a cellular network, right? A website, to your point, Julian, is just being served on top of another protocol. But are we really trying to figure out which version of HTML was better? Well, maybe someone cared at some point to make that a standard, but at the end of the day, no one's looking, no one's diving into that. What we want is good websites, right? So to me, some of the coolest things that I've seen happening recently are, some of the emerging segments of Web3, like DAOs, NFT marketplaces like ROCKI, that are being built on top of these blockchains that are providing a unique experience to users to be able to interact with that blockchain in a way that hopefully they don't know that there's a blockchain on the back end, right? So in terms of the question is like, what else needs to be done to be able to create a better user experience, to be able to onboard more users and give them a better on-chain ecosystem? It's building the framework so that developers can create applications on top of it that users can enjoy, that people can look at and interact with in ways that is not necessarily as different as if they're interacting with a website today. So it's really progressing the development in a way where we are able to build some really creative and unique applications that maybe wouldn't exist in the traditional non-crypto world because of the crypto mechanics, and opening up new opportunities through that, but not necessarily pegging it or focusing too much on the base layer, on the infrastructure or the protocol layer of things.
Right. I just want to quickly jump in to add like two more points before I have to leave for a call in 5 minutes. So one is I definitely echo a lot with what everyone was saying about like there's no one solution fits all kind of layer one infrastructure. Actually, I was just having a conversation some time ago, not a long time ago, with a developer that is basically building a crypto-enabled play-to-earn platform on top of blockchain. But the majority of the users actually just normal users in games. They're not necessarily very familiar with blockchain. So that application actually said the dual token model of Ontology, which is not the common case for many other blockchains, is actually preferable to them because they don't have to suffer from this, one token in the network, and then when that network actually goes prosperous, and then that token price just rise up, and then have to pay more gas fee. But with like a more like a differentiation between the utility token and also the network governance token that actually solves that problem for them. So this is an example of we're heading for a multi-chain future, and different chains have different functionalities and setups and designs that can be more suitable for different use cases. It's just that we're so early in the process of blockchain application adoption that we don't know more at this point. And also, just to share, like one of the reports I recently read, talking about like the total value locked for DeFi projects on different chains is actually going up, and the percentage of Ethereum total value locked is actually going down. So there's evidence suggesting that we're definitely heading towards a multi-chain future. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Thanks a lot. I have to go for another call. Abby, thank you for the invite.
Yeah, thank you, Gloria. Yeah, and maybe see you next time. And when we talk about user experience, I think we could go to ROCKI and Unifi. And for the projects or platforms who want to make multi-chain deployment, how to effectively unify the user experience across different platforms?
It's a great question. If you don't mind, Julian, I'll answer this one first. As I have also a cutoff in a little bit. For us, I think it's coming from the music industry, dealing with musicians and music fans. A lot of our users are not blockchain or crypto savvy. They are just regular users. So I think the importance of having it feel like a Web2 experience with the UI, I think is very, very important. And I also think that it needs to be, what you guys are building, it needs to be a solution that could function, cross-chain. So if they come and verify their identity on ROCKI to upload music NFTs, they should be able to use that token, that identification verification, if they are going to use another platform that maybe operates in the same space. So they only have to do it one time. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong here, Juliun and Humpty and Abby, that's something that you guys are working on, where that identity could basically follow you along the web on the blockchain, and you could, if you're already verified with ROCKI, you would automatically also be verified at another platform as well. You don't have to do it twice. Is that correct, or am I misunderstanding it?
No, decentralized identity is portable. So your identity with DID is portable. So that's kind of one of the things that separates DID from kind of other Web3 identities, is the fact that it is agnostic to what chain it's being used on and what application you use to create your DID. You can verify that across multiple blockchains, and OntID has been deployed across, I think, 5 or 7 blockchains, right, Juliun? It's across quite a few. And I think that's definitely one of the, in my opinion, biggest selling points to Ontology, and it's OntID.
Yeah, I think regular users just don't want to do that 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Or every time they come to a new platform, they need to verify the identity again. And it might be with another company, and then another company, and then another company. And then you don't know, what's going on with my identity floating around on the internet, right? Nobody likes that. So, yeah.
When you I think it's interesting in terms of building on multiple blockchains to think about it like when you're building on a blockchain, right? And you're rendering, we're basically making a web page for the user, right? You have to make a ton of calls. If they're logging into Ontology, we got to call the Ontology network. How many tokens do they have? Do they have the gas for this? What's their address? Or what are they trying to interact with? So that's a call to the Ontology network. But there's also calls that are made, not to the Ontology network, to more like global type solutions. What time is it? What's the location here? What is what's their IP address? Various different things are called on the entire network as well, on a blockchain network. And I think what's interesting about decentralized ID is you can have these public-facing kind of APIs that maybe come from that, and they can carry with you. They can carry with you and it be based upon some blockchain information, but you can carry that along. So from a development perspective, there's a huge educational barrier right now to building on multiple blockchains. How do I switch networks? What does that mean? How do my tokens show up correctly? And currently, we as the builders of these multi-chain solutions have to do that education. I think what's so interesting about something like decentralized ID is it's potentially something that can be rooted in a blockchain, and that information be like based there, of course. But as long as that API is a public-facing API, or there's some kind of ability to pull that information, we can use that anywhere, and we can say, hey, look, you may be a user, which your address is on Ethereum because it's the same as it is on Ontology, for example, or like there may be some secondary parameter that we can call, and we can use that information to kind of take some bit of the data and customize the build as they go from chain to chain. So I'm super interested in seeing where that goes, because that potentially becomes an awesome attribute. And if we can say, hey, like if we could show on when they're logged into Ethereum, you've conducted 7 trades, and then after they trade there and they go to Ontology, we can say, hey, you've conducted 8 trades, and we don't have to call 2 blockchains to do that. That's huge. That's really cool. That's like a massive savings for us. And so I think that's an interesting future. And it just has a lot of potential in terms of making things from an educational perspective that much simpler, and making things from a user perspective that much easier, which is what the industry needs.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that you mentioned that, because OntID, I don't know if many people know this, but it's actually not just the DID standard. It's got login, it's got OntTag. It's quite a comprehensive suite of products built into it. And one of the things I would personally like to see, to your point, Julian, is signing in to, like, say, Unifi protocol with your DID and using the protocol on a blockchain like Ethereum, and then signing in to that same platform on Ontology using that same DID, and all of that information gets managed on the user's identity, which they manage, right? This is all self-sovereign. This is self-managed. And then that enabling like new use cases within the protocol. The cool thing is, because OntID is also on Binance Smart Chain, where ROCKI is using it, you can potentially be signing in with this same DID, OntID, onto ROCKI and using the NFT marketplace there. And you kind of start seeing how there is this, this kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just a rich experience for the user, where it's no longer segmented to the different blockchains that they're using and the different products that they're using on these blockchains, but it really covers the spectrum of their Web3 usage. And so going back to not necessarily focusing on the blockchain, but really creating better user experiences, this is one example of how someone could do that, because all of this exists today. Like on login, for someone to be able to log in to a protocol, DIDs and VCs, where all these credentials are verifiable in terms of the types of interactions that they've had with the protocol, so, and then maybe even potentially opening up new opportunities in a protocol because of the fact that they've used it across several other blockchains on where Unifi is at, for example. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely the future, and that's definitely the future that Ontology is proposing as well.
I want to sign off, guys. It's been a true pleasure and privilege to be on here. We are big fans of the Ontology services, as you know. Anyone who has any questions that are listening in, feel free to reach out to me personally at hello@rocki.app. If there's anyone looking to use Ontology and wants some insight how it is to work with, happy to provide feedback to anyone listening. Julian, it's been a pleasure to meet you and the rest of the Ontology team. Many thanks for having me on, and hopefully we can do this again.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that question inspired me a lot. And so hold on.
I don't think that this is live streaming, by the way. I just saw Bjorn's message here, and I just tried to go and access it too. I think they're recording it to be able to distribute it at a later time.
Got it.
Yeah. I think they had some technical issues. It might have to do with bandwidth. As we can see, they're having an issue.
I am back.
All right.
Oh.
I think we can keep on going to the next question. Yeah. At present stage, the Web3 users rely on wallets to access on-chain application ecology. And wallets are naturally suitable for the establishment and identification of PID. So could you please introduce DID is approved of fitting in wallet. To accept that part, does it fit DID fit in other products?
Okay. Let me first again. And I think DID is not only kind of the functionality or protocol, it's kind of a mechanism. They will, I guess in next stage, especially for the Web3 scenario, they will become almost have to, those kind of must have, those kind of mechanism in different steps. Because the ID not only identity management, also includes like the data related to the identity, the privacy management. You based on that measure your digital assets, reputation, credit score, behavior, the almost all kinds of decentralized information. The end user or organization or DAO, they use the ID as a protocol to manage all kinds of decentralized information in different depths. So that means the ID not only for like wallets or some plugin, it's also is well integrated with all kinds of depths, especially Web3 depths. So the DID in next phase is not only, I think one thing, if this kind of infrastructure protocols, that not means this is not necessary for all dApps to develop the DID or their own identity mechanism protocol again. They can use some kind of infrastructure service, DID service, private. Of course, they have multiple different kind of DID service private, like Ontology or other kind of those privates. Those public infrastructure, DID infrastructure protocol as service, the dApps can easily to integrate it DID to their application. Sometimes it's mobile application. Sometimes it's dApps they can use plugin to their. Sometimes it's API, the protocol. Sometimes it's even like the kind of product. For example, some NFT also kinds of decentralized DID, the DID product. This kind of NFTs can prove you have those kind of some features, some the attributes, etc. So DID in next stage, they will as a different kind of products. The best on DID. Sometimes it's a login service, sometimes it's verification, sometimes it's credit score, or sometimes they will become some NFT, etc. So they will be everywhere. DID will be everywhere. In like the community, in DAO, even in exchange, all this kind of the DeFi scenario. So the idea, I think, is will become not only protocol, also become all kinds of products. They'll be integrated to all kinds of scenario in next phase. Yeah,
I think it's I think that's a cool vision because we do a lot of DAO activities right now, and it's not super convenient to do that from anywhere on Earth. It's just not. And maybe the participation within that DAO, like to vote or approve or whatever, that should of course be done. That should be difficult. The security should be high. But what I think is so interesting about what you're talking about here is you're talking about these as public APIs essentially. And so what I think is super interesting there then is maybe the user doesn't need a wallet to interact. Maybe you don't even need that. And then what's super cool is you don't have to download a wallet to interact with decentralized ID. Anybody can. Anybody can without tokens at no cost. And what's so cool about that is that then the adoption goes through the roof because, hey, there's this base way that you can interact. So if you're someone like me, where I don't want to have to carry around, 3 ledgers everywhere that I go, but if I can travel and still be able to at least read the proposals because of my decentralized ID that I can carry with, that's cool. Similarly, if you're somebody that's new to crypto that maybe isn't in a space and you don't want to have to build an ID that's contingent upon an address and a wallet and transactions, you can still access that data in some way. I think that's huge because that's a form of adoption in crypto that I don't think a ton of people are exploring, or I shouldn't say crypto, in blockchain that not a lot of people are starting to explore. And that's that there are non-financial aspects of blockchain technology that is super interesting. And that's a big piece there is that data is secure. It's not fungible. It can't be changed, or I shouldn't say fungible. It's not mutable. It can't be changed. It's consistent. And if you have access to that, you have access to a truth, an unbiased truth. And I think that's something that people, that there's value to. And I think there's the value there to anyone, not just financial transactions. So I think that the potential of what you're talking about is cool. And it has a ton of legs around it. I'm very excited to see where that goes.
Yeah. It's very like today's SaaS service, software as service. That means the same content, same internal content inside content, but different UI, right? Just like you use a Gmail service, sometimes in your browser, sometimes in your mobile, sometimes even in your wallet, sometimes in your the iWatch, etc. So, but the same account, same content, but in different UI, different application, different scenarios. Yeah.
So
for me personally, I'm excited for DID to unlock new opportunities for people. One of the things that is really exciting about user-owned identities, self-sovereign identity, is the reputation that comes along with that. So being able to leverage your identity and, like we were talking about earlier, like your interactions with the blockchain space, with the different Web3 ecosystem applications like DeFi protocols, NFT marketplaces, DAOs, governance tools, like all of this participation makes up your unique identity, right? You can have many identities, right? As many identities as you want to have, but each identity is unique in its interactions with the ecosystem. So the unlock for me of that identity and being able to use that reputation to open up new opportunities within the ecosystem itself, whether it's that same DeFi protocol that you were using to open up under collateralized markets, or to be able to vote in governance in a way that is not plutocratic, that doesn't depend on how many tokens you have, but it really depends on the activity that and the impact that you have within those DAOs. To reference some of what Juliun was saying with Unifi, there's probably lots of people within that DAO that are actively participating, but when the governance in proposals go up to be voted on, are we accurately measuring the sentiment of the community? Are we measuring the sentiment of the largest token holders? This is something that affects every DAO. not just Unifi. Every DAO is having to deal with this right now. And the challenges, and it's in the limitations of the technology that exists today. But with this self-sovereign identity and with this portable reputation, as what we were looking at earlier and discussing earlier, you're able to open up these more novel and emerging experiences that creates a much more fulfilling, usage of these applications, where it's like, oh, I actually am being recognized by the contributions that I'm making in this DAO, or because I've been not a degen in this DeFi protocol. I'm in good standing. I'm able to open up a market where I don't necessarily need to over collateralize this loan to be able to borrow against it. So, for me, I think that this to me is the next unlock. Like when people go, oh, well, DeFi was nice, NFTs are nice, DAOs are nice. What's next? I'm like, DID. That's really the next unlock, because it covers all of these different, segments of Web3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So here comes ROCKI. So how do you think about DID gonna help projects?
Are you asking for ROCKI? Because I think he stepped away.
Yeah, I'm wrong. I will ask ROCKI.
No, they're not here. They stepped away.
Oh. Okay, so what about Juliun? So
yeah, well, I'll speak for ROCKI.
So
I'll speak for ROCKI because I think he mentioned it once already. It's DID. What is unlocking in the ecosystem there in that NFT marketplace is to be able to identify the authenticity of the users that are using that marketplace. So they're looking at the user identity through the credential verification of who they are in the real world. And they're using social identities for that, right? They were talking about how they're looking at a user's proof of work, really, on Twitter over time to show that they are who they're claiming to be. And it's that creates a more trusted marketplace for the users that are buying. And so the idea is, that's really why ROCKI is a partner of Ontology, is because we are able to unlock that for them and for their community.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for answering. And next, I think we're going to talk about security. And recently, there have been many incidents of code vulnerability, system security, and asset theft in cross-chain protocol. So how do you think about the security of cross-chain bridge? And will EVM integration and establishment of DID help to solve the security problem across the industry? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. First again is I think the key issue, today's the cross-chain bridge. Cross bridge already have a lot of security issue today, and a lot of hack event happened. A lot of lost happened. Just because bridge is in the very early stage, the decentralization is still not good right now. Most bridge, because that is difficult task in the early stage. You want to build a decentralized mechanism to manage all those kind of custodian, cross-chain custodian. So the technology in next phase in cross-chain I think cross-chain is most because so many public ledger, not only blockchain of information. Today, important direction is still have enough decentralized mechanism today. The hacker is different to do a one action to break the Ethereum very easy. It's difficult task. But the bridge, the only a lot of bridge just owning several nodes, several validator right now. How to build a decentralized mechanism as soon as possible, have more validator, have more the security process, just like today's Bitcoin and Ethereum. That is important task for most decentralized cross-chain bridge. Another direction is maybe a kind of centralized service to build a decentralized bridge and to do that. So the decentralized bridge for the centralized, for some important organization, even sometimes I guess governments also kind of cross-chain bridge custodian service, or some famous custodian service, or even banker. In traditional world, banks, they think, okay, I can do the custodian service for cross-chain bridge. You can just store to my, I can control all the bridge custodian for all the tokens. I can use different security. I have a strong security technology service team. Why? Because I have proved my capability in traditional world. I manage a lot of money that they have not. I have a lot of experience to fight with hackers. So that's also maybe I guess a lot of decentralized. I think the guys don't like this kind of centralized service, but service for clients to privacy built as soon as possible. Otherwise, today, to be honest, today's cross-chain bridge is quite dangerous. It's quite a lot of risk right now. But we have to use that, right? Because a lot of scenario cross-chain do that. So I hope the risk will be, will be enhanced as soon as possible for the two directions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There is a word called centralized, decentralized way. Yeah.
I think that I think what you're talking about is great because I'm going to go back to education a little bit here. I don't think that there is good education around what a bridge does. And this term decentralized bridge gets thrown around a lot. Trustless, I hear that a lot. But for the most part, with the technology that we have today, this is more or less marketing, right? Because for one network to communicate with another, there must be an off-chain dialogue must happen. These networks can't communicate directly necessarily. So I think that the word trust is a part of the bridge lexicon today. And I think that a lot of users don't know that. They don't know that trust is a requirement. And I think that's where decentralized identity is so interesting. And I don't mean decentralized identity of the user, but I mean decentralized identity of the application itself or of the person that deployed it, right? How many smart contracts have they deployed? Where have they done that? What is their history? You're talking about this centralized, maybe traditional finance based history, but hey, what is their on-chain history? Maybe you want a developer that's built technology many times, and maybe there's value in being a good smart contract deployer. Maybe being somebody that deploys smart contracts consistently, that are of a very high quality, that have been audited, that have not been attacked, that have not suffered from casualties for 5 years, has value. And that's so interesting because then you can actually have a private or more anonymous entity that's deployed smart contracts. Hey, that's something that I would love to see. Is somebody go, hey, Unifi has deployed 350 different smart contracts. They've suffered these issues. This is the largest transaction they've run. This is the largest custodianship they've ever felt. This is how they've operated. Versus somebody comes in and builds something, we don't know exactly what's there. We don't know exactly what they subjected to it. And so if something goes wrong, there's nothing to really lose. Because they don't know how our world really works right now. That's a somewhat centralizing aspect. And I think that you're right. And it's like, I feel there's a lot of value there. And I feel like if you saw fresh conversation, and
I think in terms of DID, the beauty of it is it doesn't have to just be for an individual user, right? It could be for an organization, it could be for a device. So it's a very flexible standard that can be applied in many different creative ways. The one thing that I'm hearing you talk about right now is a lot of the times in this space, and maybe that's just human nature, we only give attention to an individual or an organization when something goes wrong. It's like, oh, like you got hacked. And suddenly all the media attention goes to this project was the one running this protocol. And, it's not conducive to kind of helping this ecosystem grow and learn from one another and build together, right? To the point you're making, though, I think there's definitely room for us to be able to identify, quantifiably verify the wins, the good work that projects have done, and use that as their reputation, to your point, and have that be an incentive for a project to want to work with them. I think when we talk about DID and reputation, we may get stuck thinking that this is something that is only usable by individuals, but really, when we start looking at identity and reputation as something that can also be applied to these organizations, whether it's a DAO, whether it's a developer group, this to me is really exciting because suddenly you start seeing the massive opportunities for the discovery of these type of individuals, the good actors, right? Not just the bad actors. So I think in terms of DID, it opens up opportunities for everyone, whether you're an individual or organization, to be able to build your reputation, right? And have that reputation be a big part of how you are perceived in this space and the type of opportunities that are available to you in this space. Because in terms of the bad actors, certainly they can open up new identities and do whatever they want in the future. But if we really start applying value to the good reputation, then there's an incentive to want to build up a good activity in this ecosystem and be a good actor, right? Instead of a black hacker being a white hat hacker who discovers these issues and then shares them with the team and then collects a bounty. That bounty now is verifiable on chain, right? That you did something good, and suddenly this is something that can be something regenerative instead of degenerative.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, can with you more, focusing on white hacker instead of black hacker. Yeah. So today we have talked about so much today, and I would like to invite each guest that to conclude with one or two sentences about the highlight of the topics today that might inspire you or that impressed you. One or two opinions or sentences.
Okay.
To give us.
Okay. It's quickly summary is I get a lot of information from partners and from topic today, and two important points is I think is we are currently is moved to stage 1. I mean public blockchain stage to a stage 2 dApps stage. I think the next the key actor in blockchain industry will be the dApps, and all dApps will build on different public blockchain. I mean, the end users will ignore what kind of infrastructure or public blockchain they are using. They just focus what kind of dApps, what kind of scenario, what kind of product we are using that. So that means new information will come in, not only digital assets, identity, reputation, credit score, social behavior will come in. This is one point. Another is different products and identity, and will be integrated to all kinds of depths, all kinds of scenario in next stage. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just kind of my 2 cents here. It was a great conversation. I really appreciate Lijun's perspective on kind of, the role of centralized aspects in a decentralized space. I think that it's overlooked and it's often demonized. And I do think it's something that we need to talk about. And I think it's a key part here. And I think that it's something, there are some people that kind of, wave this decentralized flag, and that's all that they'll do. And I think that's great and it's super cool. But we have to remember that there are some things that blockchain just isn't built for. And at the end of the day, there are some people that are also waving that flag that maybe use it, to hide more nefarious things that can happen. And I think talking about things like decentralized ID, talking about how those don't have to be restricted to one blockchain or restricted to the blockchain whatsoever is a great topic. And I just find it very refreshing. I'm super happy that we talked about it because I don't get the ability to very often. So I want to, thank you, Lijun, Humpty, and the Ontology team for having me. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lijun. Yeah, for me, I think if there's one word that I can take away from this and say it captures the conversation is opportunity. We're just so early. We were talking about having this really narrow focus on protocols and infrastructure, but not necessarily looking at the higher level of that stack where the users interact, that application layer, right? There's a lot of opportunity here for us to build out ecosystems that communicate with one another, that allow developers like Juliun and Unifi to be able to bridge over their projects onto multiple platforms like Ontology and Ethereum and bring their community together, in one unified experience, no pun, right, intended with that. And really, I think for Ontology, we recognize that opportunity. And it's the reason why currently there's an EVM fund available for developers to build on Ontology, to build with that tool set, right? To build with that EVM, platform, but also to build with us with DID and a lot of the technology that is being built on Ontology. So I would say anybody who's interested in learning more, just check us out, ont.io. All of our links are there. Right now is a good opportunity to get involved. Unifi recently got their grant, I believe, and are building with that and, leveraging the power of Ontology. And so, yeah, I think the opportunity is there and, we're there for it.
Yeah. Thank you for every guest. Thank you for Humpty and give us also a conclusion. And for me, I think that this conversation, this panel that gave me a picture about the blockchain structure that in the near future that may be in next 3 years. So thanks again for our guests to participate in this panel, and I hope that we could have another chance that can come together and have a discussion. Yeah, so welcome to follow Blocklike and welcome to follow Ontology and welcome to follow Cabin VC and Unifi. Yeah, thank you, every guest, and have a good day and good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.